Hey guys, Lou here from LT's Custom Woodworks. Today is another day in the shop. I have to build a coffee table. This customer has been waiting for quite some time now. So I need to get it out in like 2-3 days. I got to build a sofa table and a end table as well for that order. So these are two separate orders and I'm going to do them both at the same time. I got to juggle back and forth to try to get these out the door as quick as I can. I'm falling big time behind. So the coffee table is 5 feet long. 43 inches long by 18 inches in height, 27.5 deep. The sofa table is 5 feet long by 33 inches in height and 16.5 inches deep. Then there is the nightstand, which is 2 feet by 8 inches deep by 28 inches in height. So I'm going to start by cutting up the 2x6 into, I'll do the coffee table first, and we'll cut all the pieces and go from there. So I'm going to set this up at my stop at 5 feet. And I will cut the top for the sofa table. There is one. This will be 2. Notice my blade's a little bit dull as well. That needs to get sharpened. I'm going to have to take it in and get that done. Now I'm going to set it for 43 inches and start cutting for the coffee table, and I got to cut 5 pieces. One. And there is my 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand it down with an 80 grit, just to rough sand, because there's going to be a final sand right at the very end once everything's assembled. But it makes it a little bit easier to give it a sand now and prep it for glue up. So I'm going to turn the camera around. I am going to put my mask on for the sanding. It's such fine dust. I usually turn on my air filtration, but because I'm recording, you won't really hear it that much. Now that these tops are sanded, besides the end table, or the sofa table, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to soften up the edges. They wanted the farmhouse look, so I'm just going to soften up the edges with a router, and I'm just going to just put a slight bevel on that. Not heavy, not light, and if you noticed, I only sanded the one side. There's no need to sand underneath because that's going to be underneath the coffee table. You're not going to see that. So I just usually sand the top, and I always sand the sides, especially when you're doing a glue up, always sand, because what happens as it gets transported, the oils that, that you get people grabbing it with their hands and stuff at the stores and that, getting transported, there's always grease and oil on it. It's always good to get that removed. So I'm just going to do a test with the router on a piece of board. I'm just going to bring this up just a little bit so you can see on what's going on. And I want a little bit more of a still a little bit more. And I think that is good. So I'm going to move these, and I'm only going to router the top side only on both sides. Okay. Now I'm going to figure out my orientation on how I want it to look at the front, so you can take a look at, you can see that, the knots. I don't like this one here. If I move it back this way, that is better. Maybe if I can take this one out, move this one here. And to me, That looks pretty good. Now I know in a woodworker's world, always cut your boards longer. Once you glue it up and you take it out of the clamps, you can always cut your length trim on each end. I like to play with fire a little bit, so I always cut the table exact. The way I glue it up, I never have any issues with it moving on me. There's a certain way that I do it. If hypothetically something did happen, I'll just trim a 1/16 on that end, 1/16 on this end, and we're good to go. I don't usually have issues with not aligning the boards up, so it always works out for me. So I continue to do it that way. That's one less step that I got to deal with, is cutting the each side of the board to the length I need. And I know a lot of guys disagree with that. They prefer to cut it longer and then cut it the size afterwards, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I gamble a lot, so that is what I do. So I'm going to flip these over upside down. And I'm going to start marking for my biscuit joints. And what that does is it aligns your board even. If you don't use the biscuit joints, you can clamp it without, but then you're running a lot of boards and a lot of clamps to get it to sit straight. I like to use the biscuit joints and we're good to go. So I'm going to move the camera so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing here, so you have a better look at it. I don't know if you guys can see that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the one end is perfectly even, and obviously the other end is going to be even because the boards are all cut the same length. We're good there. What I do is I always number them. So the bottom's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Something like this, I believe, I'm going to put 4 biscuit joints per board. So I'm going to go 1 here. I'm going to go 2, 3, and 4. So when I cut for my biscuit joints, I know that these lines, I set up my guide to these lines, I know that the biscuit joint is going to line up perfectly. So I am going to use number 20s for this. I will plug this in. I'm going to do a test on, I'm not sure if that was moved, but what I want is that biscuit joint to sit right in the middle. And I will, so I can adjust that to what I need. A little bit more, and we should be good to go. That is perfect. Okay. So I'm going to flip this one board around. I will cut these right on the line. And reason why I number these from 1 to 5 or whatever, how many boards I have, is now that I take this board away and move it, because I've already cut my biscuit joint in, and I do each one like that, I need to make sure that when I do my glue up that these lines that I mark for my biscuit joints are going to line up, because if this was way over here and that line doesn't line up with this one, you're not going to be able to slide that biscuit in. That's a big problem in a glue up, because you only have so much time when you're gluing up because it dries so quick. So it's always good to be well organized and not fiddling around with your boards during a glue up. I'm just going to brush this clean. I'm going to set up my clamps, and this one is ready for glue up. So there's really not much to doing a glue up, really, if you really think about it. I'm going to set my clamps up. And I will be using four clamps. There's so much glue on these. I gotta get these cleaned. Now I'm going to start laying my boards down. And I'm going to start as I numbered them. I could probably get away with 3 clamps, but I'm going to put 4 anyways, just for the heck of it. Now I'm making sure that my numbers from 1 to 5 all line up. So what I end up doing afterwards is I flip it over. That way, after my glue up, whatever squeeze out I have on the front, I can clean this edge. It makes it a lot easier when the glue is wet than when it's dry, because then you gotta sand it out. So I'm just going to flip these over. It. We are ready to go. So I need my number 20. Here we are. My glue. Now I'm using Titebond glue for this, which is my favorite, really. I will get a rag. Now the way I always fill in where the biscuit joint's going in. I always fill that bead in with glue. I'll throw my biscuit joints in. And these are number 20s that I'm using. I'm going to flip this one up and I will glue in where the biscuit is going in. I'll run a bead of glue in there. Flip this down. Flip this in. And I'm not worried about lining this up just quite yet. I'll just run a bead of glue right on top of the biscuit. So when I push it into the other board, it will get a little bit of the glue squeeze out into the joint on this other board. Always make sure all the dust and dirt is cleaned out. I will run these in, put a little bit of glue on top of the biscuit. And we are good to go. If you haven't been here before, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time I upload a video. I try to post a new video every week. And this is the last board. Okay, so what I do is I tighten the clamps up. I just give it a tight squeeze just to bring those boards closer, and then I'm going to loosen them. And I'm going to line the boards up. This is just so it gets in there nice and tight. What I'll do is I'll take a rubber mallet and I will check what boards are out. I will align them up. There we go. You just gotta tap this one down. And we are good. Now what I do is I'll check for squeeze out. and I will clean it. Like I said, now is the time to clean it. Better now than when it's dry. I just use a water bottle. And I just make sure whatever glue is in there, it comes off really easy if it's still wet. There you go. This is going to sit overnight. I will take it out of the clamps in the morning, and it is ready for assemble. In the meantime, I can cut the legs. And this one is done. Again, I will give it a light sand before it gets stained. It is being stained espresso, so it will get a light sand prior to staining, and I'll do that after everything's all assembled together and everything, so we'll go from there. Now I'm going to sand for the other table, which is the sofa table, and I will sand these and get these all ready. And that is that. These are all sanded. This, mark out my biscuit joints. This is ready for glue up. I am going to cut it here. Tomorrow is another day, another dollar, as they say. I'm going to start cutting all the materials tomorrow for the frame and start the assembly on that. I will glue this up sometime this afternoon. I have to run out and grab some materials and price out a job for a shelving unit in-house, and then we will go from there. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you're notified when every time I uplift a video. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.